Alright guys, part 4 and hopefully the last video. By this time you should have gotten to the size that you want it, more or less roughly. The next thing you're going to want to do is install the other buckle. Now I've threaded this one in there. I was going to do it to make this video go by a little quicker. So I'll show you one side how to do it. Here's what it's going to look like. Basically you want to create the same thing that's here onto here. So I've already made one here and I'll show you how I did it. You're going to take those two middle strands, you're going to cut the short strands of that bracelet, the shorter ones, you're going to cut them and burn them. The two longer strands, you're going to go into the bracelet, to the little back of the buckle, underneath is really hard behind camera, and then you're going to bring it back into here and pull it out the front, and that's easier said than done. That's the reason I tell you to flatten those edges with the needle nose pliers. Once you got it halfway through, you can take your pliers and pull it in. I also have an old pair of tweezers that I use for this. It makes it a lot easier too, but you really don't need them. Okay, so you're going to pop that sucker in like this. So it's going to go over, around, through the back, through the loop, and down towards the back. So that you have this on the back, and it's going to match the other side perfectly on both sides, and you're not going to be able to tell which way is the front, which way is the back, or where you started from. Okay, next thing you want to do is you want to unravel this a little bit, at least a couple of unravels where you exactly want the bracelet, because you're going to be bringing these two little pieces, you're going to be bringing them behind here and then capturing them with the cord. So we already know where we want that bracelet to be, so we're just going to fine-tune this part, and basically it's bringing the loops all the way down to where you decided to end the bracelet. I find that it's easier working with these needle nose pliers because it's hard on your nails, especially if you don't have any. So you just bring it down. I'm sorry that it took 4 installments of these videos in order to get this down, guys, but I didn't want to skip anything, because after all, it is a $20 bracelet. I don't want it to look like a $4 Walmart bracelet. Not that there's anything wrong with those bracelets. They're actually pretty cool, and for those of you that can't get the paracord or don't feel you can make these paracord bracelets, those $4 Walmart bracelets are actually pretty good. I mean, you get a lot of colors, and you get to rock the bracelet. Especially for summer. It seems like everyone's starting to wear these now, especially in the neon colors. And the reason I bought this color was preparing for a Zombie Awareness Week, which is coming up in October. A lot of people have been asking for those. The Toxic Green is going to be a big color for Zombie Awareness Week, which, as all of you know, is the last week of October. So, more or less, this is where we want it. And remember, guys, the difference between a $4 bracelet and a $5 bracelet, I mean a $20 bracelet, is the really tight knots, the really tight weave. That's what makes the difference. So you really want to put emphasis on tightening those knots. Alright, so here we go. That's where we decided to end it. We'll bring these two strands back here. Oops. Right here. And we'll start weaving those two weaves that we took off. So over, under, and tighten. And remember, wherever this knot was, that's where you'll start it. Over, under, and out. Now, I don't like to leave this little area right here, so I'll do one more. I'll push these down and leave enough for one more loop, and that'll really bring it in nice and tight. Give it a nice look. Over and under. Notice how tight I'm pulling this, guys? That's why it takes about half an hour to make one of these, because you really want to get it as tight as possible. to get that clean look. Now, if you notice, I didn't gut the inside of this. Sometimes I'll gut it and I'll make an even tight weave. But I think for most people, they prefer all the strands inside the paracord, because in case of an emergency, they can always cut this, unravel it, and now you have 8 plus 4, that's 12 feet of paracord. 12 feet of paracord to work with, guys, in case of an emergency. All right, so here it goes. Actually, it looks really good. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut. Once I pulled it really tight, I'm gonna cut there, and I'm gonna cut here. Then I'm gonna burn them. You want to use the bottom of the flame, the blue. Even though it's still turned dark, this doesn't let it bubble up. It just melts it gradually, and what happens is it melts in and it becomes nice and smooth. If you burn it and it starts to bubble up, it creates little sharp little edges on it. So as you can see, it's starting to bubble up, so I'll back up a little bit, and there you go. Notice how it melted and it melts onto the surrounding area, and that creates your little secure so it doesn't come off. It's not that hard to take apart also. If you don't want to cut it, if you just want to pull it apart, you can. We'll do the same to the top, and using the bottom of the flame, the bluish part, the one that's not as hot as the yellow one on top, you'll kind of do the same thing to this part. Kind of melt it and let it get onto the other stuff around it so that it creates a nice tight seal. And when you see it bubbling up, just back up a little bit. Okay, I probably could have done better than that. You can still burn it, and kind of it melts into the surrounding area. Unfortunately, it does look a little darker, but it's not a big deal. It's going to be underneath the rest anyway. Alright, so this is how we finish it off. You have 2 strands that you encased in the paracord as you're weaving, right? You're going to want to cut as close as you can. As close as you can. And this is what you're left with. Just a little bit on there. There's 2 ways you can do this. One, leave it alone, right? And over time it's going to fray a little bit, but really it's not going to do anything. The other way to do it is the way I do it. You just melt it slightly. Not too much, not so it gets black, just enough so that it starts looking a little liquidy. You pull this back open. I use a lighter to kind of roll it and make sure there's no tough seams in it, and then you go back. So I opened it up like this so that it would move in a little bit after I've already burned it. Then it goes in there and it adheres to the inside. Then you flip it back out. I take my needle nose pliers and I just go right on top of it while it's still warm. Press on it, and now this, really smooth. You don't have those sharp edges, no hard edges. Now it is going to be a little bit thicker from right here because it's doubled up, but really it's not really uncomfortable. You won't even feel it. And there she is. $20 paracord bracelet. There's only 2 steps left. Notice how it's still a little flimsy. It's pretty tight, but a little flimsy. Now you're going to want to do is dip it in water. If you have a cup of water, just leave it in the cup of water for about a minute. That makes sure that it gets all soaked through. All the little fibers get soaked through. Then you put it on your windowsill and next to the sun, or you throw it in the dryer. Then you're going to get a really hard shell. It's going to kind of mold to the shape of the circle. And there you go, guys. $20 paracord bracelet for $1.25. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps you out. Thanks. Have a good day.